Okay, hello everyone. Welcome in. Today we're going to be talking about the Andromedans and the Andromeda Galaxy and the Andromeda Constellation. And I feel like the Andromedans and Andromeda are talked a lot about in the spiritual community, but what I don't hear is that they're actually like two top types of Andromedans, right? So there are beings from the Andromeda Galaxy, while there are also beings from the Andromeda Constellation. So that was kind of the like idea and the reason that I decided to talk about this. So we're going to be going into a lot of detail about both the Andromeda Galaxy and the Andromeda Constellation and the star people, the star groups from both of those today. But before we get into it, I just want to remind you, if you haven't already, please hit like and subscribe if you want to see more of this type of content. I also have some freebies linked below. I have a third eye activation meditation linked below, and then I also have some Starseed sticker printables. So you want to open your third eye, you want to learn to channel more, use your psychic abilities, like definitely recommend that third eye activation. And if you want to, if you like stickers, I love stickers. Like stickers are my thing. They're one of my biggest hobbies. So I made some free Starseed sticker printables, and they're really cute characters of every different type of star seeds. I'm gonna kind of, I think, put some pictures up here. That's the plan anyway, so you can see them, but completely free. So feel free to, grab those. You can use them as your, wallpaper on your phone or computer or whatever. Or you could actually print them. Be cool. I have not printed them yet. I would like to, but yeah. So I have those couple freebies. So feel free to grab those below. I also want to let you guys know that I started a meetup group. It is called the Starseed Collective, and it's over on meetup.com. Right now, it is completely free. And this presentation that I'm going to be going through today, I actually created it for my meetup group. So I did it a few days ago in the meetup group live in our Cosmic Connection circles. We have those every 2 weeks, and we talk about all kinds of cool things in those groups. So some days it's going to be similar to this, where we're talking about a lot of alien extraterrestrial information. Sometimes it goes more spiritual, where we're like learning how to talk about like spiritual tools. Like I think I'm going to do one on like oracle cards in a couple weeks, right? And then sometimes it's going to be me doing like live channelings, like readings for the group. And so it's all different kinds of things. What I really like though is that, and one of the reasons I created it is that at the end of me kind of giving some type of presentation or doing a channeling, we always go into breakout rooms, right? So if you're someone who's wanting more spiritual community, like you want to meet others who are on the spiritual path or having these experiences, are interested in this type of stuff, because sometimes it is hard to find people in the wild that want to talk about this stuff, then this is a group for you, because you're going to get to have breakout rooms and talk to people one-on-one. So that's also going to be linked below. Also, all of this is linked in my bio, so please check that out. There is also a masterclass over there called What is a Starseed and Am I One? So on my meetup group, about once a month right now, I'm doing this masterclass, and we go through all of the different extraterrestrials and aliens, and understanding like, hey, this is this group. You may have been one in a past life. So if you're wanting to know your starseed origins, I mean, I definitely recommend that masterclass. Check it out. You can also just book a reading with me too. And I can kind of pinpoint that exact information for you. So if you're wanting more information about the different types, definitely check out the masterclass. If you're wanting to know which one you are, the masterclass does have a meditation in it at the end. You can kind of get an idea of that. But if you really want to do a reading and know like different star systems you've been on, I definitely suggest, booking a session. So with that being said, let's get into it. Let's get started. So we're going to be talking about Andromeda today. And like I mentioned, there are two different types of Andromedans, right? So there's Andromeda Galaxy and there's Andromeda Constellation. And you hear the word like Andromedan, Starseed, Andromeda just tossed around a lot in the spiritual community. And I just don't feel like I hear the difference between Andromeda Galaxy and Andromeda Constellation really mentioned a lot of the time, right? And I think that when people say they're like an Andromedan starseed, like myself included, I have identified that as an Andromeda starseed many times before. I think that a lot of people identify with this. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm Andromedan, I had past lives as an Andromedan. There's a very good reason for this. And that's because a lot of our souls, a lot of starseed souls, actually came from the Andromeda Galaxy. Like probably the majority of people I do readings for, I mean, I would say probably 60% or more, if I had to put a number, on it, our souls come from the Andromeda Galaxy. So when we hear the word Andromeda, we're like, oh, we identify with that. That's us, that's me. But sometimes that can actually be referring to extraterrestrials who are from the Andromeda constellation. Right. So there is a difference, right? And I think there's a lot less people with lifetimes on the Andromeda constellation than who are from the Andromeda Galaxy, right? That number is a little bit smaller for Andromeda constellation. For me in particular, my soul spent a lot of time in the Andromeda Galaxy. And so I identify as an Andromedan Starseed in that way, but I've never actually been to the Andromedan constellation. Like after my lifetimes on Earth, that is where my soul plans to go. So it's interesting. I'm an Andromedan starseed, but never been to the Andromedan constellation, right? So that's a differentiator right there. So we're going to talk about both. We are going to start with the Andromedan Galaxy. So I'm going to share my screen here. Let's see, share. Okay. So we're going to look at some pictures of the Andromeda Galaxy. So the first thing I want to note is this picture that's actually of the Andromeda Galaxy. I believe it is from NASA. I found it online on Google. And the reason I picked this picture because there were a ton of different pictures of the Andromeda Galaxy. It's because of the color. It's this like magenta pink color. And when I see the Andromedan Galaxy in the Akashic Records, I see it as this color. I see the guides as this color. So if you just go look at like actual pictures of the Andromeda Galaxy, they won't always be this color. Like it just happened to look like it in this one. So that's why I picked it out. So this is the Andromeda Galaxy. This is a real picture. So the Andromeda Galaxy is the nearest major galaxy to the Milky Way galaxy. It's kind of like our neighbor galaxy, and it's about 2.5 million light years away from Earth. And it's actually visible to the naked eye from Earth because it is so bright. Um, so the soul group that came from the Andromeda Galaxy actually came into the Milky Way galaxy through the Antares Stargate. And they wanted to help the creation of physical life, right? So life in the Andromeda Galaxy is not nearly as physical, like they're not as dense, like we're in very dense bodies here, we're on a planet, right? They're more kind of like angelic, higher vibrational there. So they came into the Milky Way galaxy to help with the creation of more physical life, which would include human life, right? Human creation is a part of that. So like I mentioned, for a large portion of us, we have a soul history lineage to the Andromeda Galaxy. So let's actually look at some of the Andromeda Galaxy beings. So this picture I did create using chat. And I think chat did a really, really good job. So this is kind of the beings that I'll see when I open up the Akashic Records and go into Andromeda. So as you can see, definitely more etheric, more angelic. Definitely does not look like a physical humanoid type of alien, right? His body is not as dense as ours. Um, and I typically see them as like this purple color right here. And I see like spikes kind of coming out of their head. So that's why, I asked ChatGPT to put spikes here. And then I also see this kind of like angelic, like rainbow angelic kind of like sheen on their bodies. So they're more kind of like a light, light, higher dimensional type of body. I do see them kind of having legs. I feel like this one kind of looks like a genie or something like that, right? But I think overall, chat did a really good job of depicting what the Andromeda Galaxy angelic beings look like. And so, and I'm gonna get some water real quick. Sorry, my throat was getting a little dry. So that's the Andromeda Galaxy angelic being. Now I also see beings like this, like quite a bit. And so they are the Andromeda Galaxy dragon beings. I don't know if I've seen a lot of other channelers who have also seen this. If you are a channeler and you've seen something like this, please drop it in the comments because I would love to like see that other people are also seeing this as well. But there's this special type of like dragon being that comes from the Andromeda Galaxy, right? Because we have dragon beings here in the Milky Way galaxy, but this one in particular comes from the Andromeda Galaxy. So they're more magenta, right? So we're either seeing these beings that are like more purple over here, or they're more magenta over here. The dragon ones are, and they have more of like a pointed like beak, or like kind of looks more like a dragon snout when I see it in my mind's eye, right? Because these are pictures based off of what I'm seeing in the Akashic Records. But they also have like more of one point at the top of their head, as opposed to like this one has like multiple points. So these are the type of beings that if you're working with Andromedan guides from the Andromeda Galaxy, they're going to look more like this. Like they're higher vibrational, right? They're not in the fifth and sixth dimensions. They're going to be higher up, like in the eighth, ninth, 10th, maybe even 11th dimensions, right? So they're going to be more of like a light being that's in an etheric form, as opposed to like, no, I'm actually talking about an extraterrestrial on a spaceship that, I'm speaking to, right? So that's kind of a big thing I wanted to point out with Andromeda Galaxy. So that's Andromeda Galaxy. Let's talk about Andromeda Constellation. Okay, so we're going to go to Andromeda Constellation here. And I'm actually going to pull up this picture of Andromeda Constellation. So obviously, this is a drawing. I found it on Google, so I did not create this myself. But Andromeda Constellation is a star system within the Milky Way galaxy. It is actually the 19th biggest star constellation in the night sky. It's 722 square degrees and is located in the northern sky. Now, Andromeda constellation beings are going to be like actual physical humanoid beings that live on planets, right? So they're not as etheric looking, right? These are like physical beings. They can get into spaceships. And my understanding is that the Andromedans have worked with the Galactic Federation like quite a bit over different periods in time. Now these Andromedans, these Andromeda constellation beings, are descendants of the Lyrans. So the Lyrans were the first humans ever created in the Milky Way galaxy. And their planets were destroyed in the Lyran Wars. They were destroyed by a more nefarious group of extraterrestrials. And when this happened, when their planets were destroyed, they basically had to spread out all over the galaxy, and they had to find a new home, right? So they had to go to new star systems, new planets. They ended up all over the place, right? Like the Pleiadians are the descendants of Valerians, but the Andromedan, these blue beings, they are the descendants of the Lyrans who went to the Andromeda constellation and made a new home for themselves there, right? So the Lyrans look more kind of typical like Earth humans in the fact that like they're not like blue, right? Their skin color is typically depicted more to look like, someone of European descent, maybe someone who looks more Caucasian or more like Mediterranean type of like looking. But when they went to the Andromeda constellation, a lot of the different conditions there in the star system on the planet made their skin start to turn blue. So one thing was like the copper-based minerals they were ingesting in their food. It was also like the vibration of the planet, right? And there's the different conditions there. They actually turned blue, and we don't have really any blue humans on this planet, but the humanoids in the Andromeda constellation are more blue. And it's interesting because the vibration and the frequency were also different. So a lot of them kind of like, and the Lyrans were taller than us in general, but I feel like a lot of the Andromedans are very like tall and like lengthy. Like they have these like long bodies, right? Where they're more like 7 to 9 feet tall, right? Um, and then some of them also have wings as well. And we'll get into another picture here where they have wings. So this one I also made on ChatGPT, and this was kind of a part of a fun series I did. Action figures, like Barbies. Like it was just kind of like, like a fun, silly thing. I did all the different aliens as action figures. So this one has wings, as you can see, and this one is a little bit more kind of pale. It'd probably be a little bit more blue. In actuality, but just the picture looks a little bit more pale. And it's actually interesting because when I see the Andromeda constellation at the higher realms, like the seventh to ninth dimension, I actually see those beings as more like purple, They're like purple and sparkly, more like a lavender, like a light type of purple, right? So I thought that I would also share my teacher who I learned the Galactic Akashic Records from is Debbie Soloris. And so she's put together a really nice section on galactic history on her website. So I thought I would kind of go through some of the pictures there to see kind of more what Andromedans look like. So if you do like learning about galactic history and you like to read and look at pictures, I really recommend this website because it goes into like all of the different star systems, right? But as you can see here, like a lot of them, like here's a higher dimensional one. It's like blue, right? It looks very tall, very long, like that elongation that happened to the Lyrans when they were kind of living in the conditions on this planet. It has wings, right? So they're kind of like more connected to the angelic frequency, like even though they're a little bit more physical as well. And I think it's interesting because you look at these almond-shaped eyes, we see those on a lot of Earth humans as well, primarily like people of Asian descent. You will see some more like European, Caucasian type of people who have this type of eye too. But I think that's coming from the areas of Europe that are like closer to Asia. But any Earth human you see that has this type of eye, it's most likely because they have a higher amount of Andromedan DNA, right? Because the humans on this planet, we are a mix of all different types of alien DNA, right? So we're not just one type of alien, we're a mix of different type of aliens, right? So that's also why we have so many different beautiful ways we can look on this planet. We don't all look the same, right? And so yeah, so if you have this eye shape, you could have a lot of Andromedan genetics, which is really, really cool. And so let's see. See, there's just like they're very these like etheric, like kind of angelic, kind of higher dimensional beings. Yeah. Yeah, she's really pretty. I like her. And then this one is probably more of like a fifth or sixth dimensional being because it doesn't have the wings and it's more blue. And it's interesting because I see this picture, and this to me more looks like actual beings from like the angelic realms, which is very high dimensional, very close to source frequency, right? So we're getting up there to like 11th, 12th, like very, very high dimensional when I see these beings. So yeah, that's the Andromedans. And one thing that I really like about the Andromedans too is that they really revere their women, right? So I joke, and on my Starseed sticker printable for the Andromedans, I put the birthplace of feminism as like a little tagline at the bottom. Because they really respect and revere their women. It's about like goddess culture is kind of how it would feel. And so I feel like a lot of, women who have a lot of lifetimes on Andromeda, they really expect the person in their relationship to really respect their divine feminine, right? And for it to be sacred for them and to be revered, right? So, on Earth for a long time, we've had a lot of within relationships, a lot of like toxic masculinity, right? And the divine feminine not being respected or not being revered on this planet. So that can make it difficult for a starseed who's coming from Andromeda and expects to be treated a certain way to not be treated that way on this planet. So, with that being said, I also wanted to, let's see, I'm going to go ahead and close out of these pictures. I wanted to go through some starseed traits as well. So this document is also from debbiesoloris.com. I just went and I signed up for her email list and she sent me this via email. It was a free document. So I definitely recommend, like, if you guys want to get this document and read through it, going to her website, signing up for email list, and you can get this document. It's great. It's based off of a lot of the readings that she's done in the Akashic Records, and she kind of goes through every type of starseed and like different signs that kind of show that you could be from that star system, right? So, and I think it's based off her own experiences she's had in the records, just like this presentation is kind of based off of my own experiences that I've had in the records, like when we go in, like what we see and stuff. So just keep that in mind if you do get that document, you are reading through it. But I personally really like a lot of these traits that she has out here. And so I just kind of wanted to go through some of them, right? So you might be an Andromedan Starseed if people say you're easy to talk to, you're a good listener, but sometimes you struggle communicating clearly your emotions, right? And so I think that's kind of like also kind of like a lot of empaths deal with this, right? Like you can feel everyone else, you want to listen, you want to help, but sometimes for you to kind of come and articulate what's kind of going on with your emotions, it can be a little bit more difficult. I definitely know that that has happened to me before. If you have a very laid back personality, if you're kind of like go with the flow, carefree lifestyle, also a sign that you could be an Andromedan Starseed. If you act or look childlike or much younger than your age, people mistake you for being younger, right? And that could be your physical looks. It could also just be your energy, right? Your voice, the way you show up, having more of that kind of like maybe naive or genuine authentic energy, right? That kind of makes me like, oh, you have such a young vibe, that type of thing, even if maybe you're not that young, right? Could be a sign that you're an Andromedan starseed. If you consider yourself an introvert, you tend to be, the strong, quiet type and stay in the background to observe others. That could be a sign, right? For those who are fiercely independent and love your freedom, you go on your path and you do not follow the crowd. So my understanding, also something that Debbie taught me, is that the Andromeda Galaxy and the Andromeda Constellation are both pretty far out. So they're not close to other star systems, right? So because of that, Andromedans are kind of on their own, right? And so because they're on their own, they got to protect themselves, they got to figure out how they're going to live, their resources, things like that. A lot of Andromedans are just hyper, super independent when they come to be, an Earth and a human. They also love to explore, right? They have this strong desire to travel and explore because they are so far from everything that they want to go out and they want to explore, right? And I love that she put, you might go backpacking in the mountains on a whim or give up your job to follow your dream of exploring the world, because I did. I quit my job and then I became a digital nomad, started this company and traveled around the United States, not the world, but around the United States. And so I was like, this is my inner Andromedan coming out right here. If you struggle staying in a monogamous relationship or trouble finding a romantic partner as you have high expectations, and want a partner that is energetically aligned with your own frequency. I mean, this is kind of what we were talking about before, but I definitely myself, like, I really resonate with this, right? Because it's like you may not want to just get in any human relationship, right? You really want a great partner who can kind of meet you and match you where you're at. And so sometimes that does mean like you might be single instead of being in this other relationship that's not really going to fulfill your expectations. So I found this one, I definitely identify with this one, and I found this one really interesting. Now she's talking about some physical traits. I'm not really going to get into those too much. But yeah, some physical traits she tends to see in Andromedans. So with that being said, there are some traits that you might be an Andromedan starseed. So those are all the documents that I wanted to share. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop sharing. So like I said, I originally created this content to really be like in a group setting. It was on Zoom. We had lots of people who could kind of, who were watching the presentation and then got to chat about it in breakout rooms after. So I actually had some discussion prompts that I kind of gave everyone. And I'm going to see if I can put these on the screen. But it was kind of talking about like, okay, like let's get into these breakout groups. Let's talk about if we have any connections to the Andromedan Galaxy. Like, do we know we had a past life as an Andromedan, or the Andromedan constellation, excuse me. Do we have a soul lineage connection there? Do we have galactic guides from either group? Maybe we work with Andromedan guides, right? We work with them in a certain capacity. Maybe they're on our spirit team. Maybe they're helping us open up our third eye, right? And if not, what kind of beings or guides do you work with? Maybe you work with Arcturians or Syrians, right? And they're special in their own way. And then have you, also have you ever had an experience where you've seen one of these, right? Like I had these pictures up earlier, right? Have you ever seen any of these beings in a meditation? And then the last question I had for discussion is, do you identify with any of the Andromedan starseed traits, right? So I had that whole list up. So obviously this is just a video you're watching on YouTube, but if you would like, I definitely recommend, hey, like maybe send this to your friend or a family member, a partner, maybe your partner, right? Or maybe just someone who's interested in this kind of stuff. And then maybe you guys could kind of discuss the discussion questions with each other, right? So feel free to share. But yeah, that's it. That's all I had for today. I hope you learned something about the Andromeda Galaxy and the Andromeda Constellation. If you do want to work with me one-on-one, if you do want to find out, am I an Andromedan Starseed? Do I have connection to Andromeda? Or maybe you're like, I don't know if I have a connection to Andromeda, but I know there's something about Sirius that I really want to learn about my connection to Sirius or to Orion. I think I was there during the Orion Wars. We can cover basically like any of the major star systems. So I'm going to share my screen. And I just want to quickly show you guys how to book. So I'm going to minimize this. And then I'm actually going to bring this forward and I'm going to go to my Calendly page. You can see here it's calendly.com/Judith Hope. And this is where you can come if you want to book a reading with me. Probably the quickest and easiest way to find about your starseed origins is to do my starseed origins reading. Now this reading, it's pretty quick, but you get a lot of information in it for 30 minutes. We go into two major star systems for you that are very important to your lifetimes on Earth. And then we actually do go into life purpose, kind of like big reason of why you wanted to be on the planet, why you wanted to be here. So it's quite a bit of information in 30 minutes. And I think it's good if you're like, I want to make an investment, but I don't want to make a huge investment. Like you can kind of dip your toe in. Like I said, like it's a lot of information for 30 minutes. So that's the Starseed Origins reading. Now for those of you who know, like, I want to know my whole soul history, I want to know my origin point, I want to know what star systems I've been on, I want to know about my Earth past lives, why I'm here now, what I'm supposed to be doing. Like you want to go into depth. I really recommend the soul origin and life purpose reading. This one is a bit longer. It's an hour and a half. It's a little bit of a higher price point, but it makes sense because it's a bigger investment, right? It's a bigger investment in your time and learning about your soul history and the knowledge of your soul. We go into your soul energy, your soul origin. You get to feel and experience being in the energy of your soul and what that looks and feels like. And then we go into multiple star systems, right? I mean, normally at least 3, 4, sometimes 5 different past lives. We go into your past lives on Earth too. And understanding like a lot of times like what type of alien you were when you decided you want to come to Earth and help with the ascension. If you've been on Earth in an alien form, I see that with a lot of my clients. And then really what you're supposed to be doing here, right? And we go into multiple life purposes, right? Like the big purposes, like your big mission here on Earth. For a lot of entrepreneurs, we go into like entrepreneurial stuff or like career stuff. For those who are, who have careers outside of entrepreneurship, we also go into all kinds of stuff, like lessons you're supposed to learn here too. So it's a really good, well-rounded reading if you're wanting to understand, really going deep in as a star seed, or even not as a star seed. Maybe you're not a star seed, but you still want to understand the path of your soul and why you're on this planet. I highly, highly recommend this reading. They're all virtual, right? And they're all super easy to book via my calendar, right? So I do my sessions on Zoom. And then I have a bunch of other sessions here. Like I said, I work with entrepreneurs. I do like star family spirit guide type of readings if you want to learn who your guides are and work with them more. I do intuitive clarity sessions. So that's really like if you just like, I don't know about the starseed stuff, but I really want to know about my relationship or my career. Am I going to get promoted? Or, like, do I have any past lives with like my mom or my dad or my best friend? All that kind of stuff we can also talk about in your intuitive clarity session. It's pretty much just like an open book, right? So I do that. I do kind of a similar to a past life regression. It's an Akashic clearing. So I have one of those as well. And then I have a financial abundance attunement. If you're ready to attune yourself to a higher frequency of money and start letting money flow within and through you, I definitely recommend the financial abundance attunement. And then I have a third eye and voice activation for those of you who are wanting to open up your clairs. So I have a lot of different ways you can work with me. So please head over to my page, check this out. It's calendly.com/Judith Hope. And if you have any questions, you can also leave a question about a session in the comment below. So yeah, that is about it. Thank you so much for listening. Would love to hear your thoughts on the Andromedans, both the Andromeda Constellation and the Andromeda Galaxy in the comments below. And yeah, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.